Just before we get underway with our game of the weekend and today's show, I wanted to give a mention for what is probably the game of the game week. It's Middlesbrough v Sunderland. On Monday night, we did our first ever live stream on YouTube reacting to the Snorefest, which was Burnley v Leeds last Monday. And we'll be doing another one straight off the back of Monday's game as well. Hopefully it'll be a lot more entertaining. Just a shot on target in the first 80 minutes would instantly make it more entertaining than that shit show on Monday night. But we did give away 2 free pairs of tickets on our first live stream, and we'll be doing it again on Monday. So make sure you subscribe to the second tier YouTube channel and join us straight after Middlesbrough v Sunderland for a rundown of that game. Alternatively, if you can't join us, the episode will be on YouTube and in your usual podcast platforms straight afterwards, as we'll give you fresh reactions straight off the bat of that game. But let's go to our game of the weekend, Justin. It's the Saturday lunchtime clash at Home Park between Plymouth Argyle and West Bromwich Albion. West Brom are your 7-10 favourites to win this one with SBK. A Plymouth win is 4-1 and the draw is 3-1. But the question on everyone's lips, Party Peachy, is what derby is this?
It's the Finnazaz derby?
It's not the Finnazaz derby. There weren't many options for what derby this is. But the actual answer to the question, Justin, it's the Tony Pulis derby. Quite often forget.
That's clever.
Yeah. You always go straight to players. Sometimes you need to think about managers as well, Peachy. But I quite often forget that Pulis was ever at West Brom. I imagine a lot of West Brom fans wish they forgot, because my only real memory of Pulis at West Brom is the ball constantly being hoofed up to Salomon Rondon, and of course that Serge Gnabry quote about him not being good enough for them.
Yeah, I mean, that haunts him, but there's context to that quote. And I think I actually had this conversation with a couple of people very closely. I think Tony Pulis is the orchestrator of modern football. Now,
so?
Well, firstly, caps. Everyone likes a cap. He was the first gaffer to really rock and don a cap, I think. And in addition to that, long throws have slowly come back into football. Set pieces, as we know with Mikel Arteta and Arsenal, they've fully been worked on. Tony Pulis didn't have a set piece coach. They just did that because they did it for the lols, and they did it to curse Arsenal and haunt Arsenal. And then you've got 4 centre-halves playing in defence, and now you've got Man City playing hoofball to Erling Haaland. Tony Pulis,
pioneer.
He's a pioneer. He set the path for modern football as it is today by playing not modern football.
You might be absolutely right, Justin. I think we should all just take a moment to really acknowledge what Tony Pulis has done. I'm sure West Brom fans, Sheffield Wednesday fans, various fans of other clubs will all agree with us on that sentiment. But let's get back to the game of the weekend, Justin. It's an intriguing one, isn't it, for everyone who'll be sat down having their Saturday sarnies, because most Plymouth games this season have been quite predictable, particularly recently, but Miron Muslich's side are coming off the back of their best performance in a long time, getting a point away at Sunderland, which shows there is a bit of life still in this Argyle side. They are very much fading, though, and are getting to the stage where they need back-to-back performances, don't they?
I think it's performances, getting performances in and getting that consistent, because that will breed confidence into the players. But obviously, when you put in a showing like they did against Sunderland, arguably the second or best showing, mirroring their performance at home against Sunderland, it's absolutely needed. And I think this is one where they can really take advantage of a team in a similar state to Plymouth, in the sense that they've got a new manager coming in with new ideas, who's taking the club in a different direction to their previous manager. Muslich is doing that with Plymouth, Mowbray's doing it at West Brom. And I think that presents an opportunity for Plymouth to, if they can try and replicate the performance against Sunderland, because it wasn't a fluke. I know they equalised in the last minute, but Plymouth arguably deserved the 3 points against Black Cats last weekend. And, for them to equalise in the last minute doesn't really do the game justice from a Plymouth perspective. So you do think, okay, Muslich is starting to get a reaction here, but also what you've got there in West Brom is a team, again, we've not seen too many examples of them playing away from home under Mowbray, because he's obviously not been there long enough. So this is a good opportunity for Plymouth and Muslich. It really is. And that's what makes this game incredibly fascinating for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far to say Plymouth deserved the 3 points against Sunderland. They definitely deserved something from the game, though, because they were knocking on that door for a fair while and gave Sunderland a really good game, even though Sunderland were quite poor. We have got to remember the 2 games prior to that Sunderland game, Plymouth were appalling.
Yeah.
They obviously got smashed 5-0 at half-time against Burnley at home. And then they were also really, really poor against QPR in the game before that as well, which was also at home, where QPR really probably should have won that by more. And keep in mind, we're talking about a Plymouth team here who have been appalling on the road this season. So they've been massively relying on their home results. So if that was a sign of things to come with their home performances, then that's very, very concerning. But Plymouth have been giving Mimon Muslic some backing. 6'5" defender Maxim Tolovirov is on his way for a reported fee of around £1.7 million from Lask in Austria. He's got 7 caps for the Ukrainian national team, which is interesting. However, they might be set to lose Ibrahim Sissoko. The winger was their standout player earlier in the season before he suffered an Achilles injury. And just as he's coming back to fitness, it's being reported Blackburn may swoop in and take over his loan deal from Toulouse, which would be a big blow for Plymouth if that were to happen, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, Sissoko's in a good position because he's got nothing to lose here. Sorry about that one. But, but I think when you consider the fact that he was such a talisman player for Plymouth in the lead up to his injury, yes, it is problematic, but he has been unavailable for a while and there is a new manager in charge. So there's going to be fresh ideas and fresh perspective. But I think what Plymouth need now is Mavericks in a position that they're in where they're going to hopefully keep games as tight as they possibly can. And I wouldn't say nick something, they're going to do it in their own way. But they need players who can edge games, and Sissoko is one of those. It's just whether or not, obviously, Toulouse want him to go to a different club where he's not going to be in a relegation battle, or whether they see Plymouth, as a place to be to develop. It's entirely up to them. Actually, I think that's the incredible thing. It's nothing to do with Sissoko or Plymouth right now, unless Sissoko really wants to stay at Argyle, which hopefully is the case under the new manager. But again, it's a new manager. Anything can happen in this scenario. But yeah, losing a good player is going to be difficult for any team.
Yeah, especially one when it's the standard of Plymouth and they're losing someone who, as we say, was very much a talisman for them earlier in the season. So they'd be really, really sad to lose him, wouldn't they? He's on loan from Toulouse.
Yeah.
Really worked out better in my head. But yeah, it'll be really fascinating to see how Plymouth approach this game, considering how they did against Sunderland at the weekend, and they're coming up against a West Brom team who will be happily adding to their woes if they get the chance to, because they're coming off the back of a brilliant 5-1 win over Portsmouth last weekend in just Tony Mowbray's second game back with the Albion. And if I was affiliated to Plymouth Argyle in any way, Justin, I would be fearful of whether West Brom may have a taste for goals now.
It depends whether you sit on the optimistic or pessimistic side of the fence. You know, if you're a pessimist, then it's okay, well, we can be worried here. But if you're optimistic, then you probably take the stance that I was taking, in that 2 new managers, different sets of ideas, trying to embed them into a team. We've not seen enough of West Brom away from home under Tony Mowbray yet. Also lost against Borough in his first game, but it's the first game, etc. But you are right. I think what this does represent for Plymouth is a scary fixture, because if they do have a taste for goals, if Mowbray does get his ideas across and it's bedding into the players sooner rather than later, then yeah, this is a very frightening prospect. But West Brom do face a sterner test in goal than with Dan Grimshaw. He's proven time and time again for Plymouth he's capable of keeping opposition at bay. Wasn't the case against Portsmouth last weekend for West Brom. They were, I won't say fortunate, but they scored. The keeper had a bad day. Yeah. That being said, this West Brom team under Tony Mowbray, I can only see it go from strength to strength. And when a Tony Mowbray team's going from strength to strength, and it's as good as this West Brom team, where's the ceiling for them? It's frightening scenario for Plymouth. But if I'm optimistic, I think this is a game where Plymouth could potentially get some points.
I think they'll definitely be thinking this is they've got the potential to get something on the board here, because they are at the stage now where they're just, even if they were playing shockingly, then they are just optimistically hoping for anything from every game, because that's at the stage where they are now, where they're somewhat adrift at the bottom of the table and need to get something. But you are absolutely right. Against Portsmouth, West Brom were helped out by the Portsmouth keeper Schmidt having a really, really poor game.
Yeah, Schmidt.
He did have a schmitter. One of the worst games you'll see from a goalkeeper this season. But at times, West Brom were just cutting through the Pompey defence like a knife through hot butter, weren't they? They were scintillating at times. Just all these different bodies just moving in different areas and really pulling the Portsmouth defence apart. Why is that funny?
It's just the idea of tactics, just bodies moving in different areas. It's for the listeners, you literally wobbled your body.
Yeah. I like people to see what I'm thinking at the same time. But yeah, with that kind of fluid front four, which we were talking about on Sunday, Justin, where West Brom played 4 wingers in attack against Portsmouth. It really did seem like you had just these 4, attackers just, fluid, going side to side, whatever, and just causing all sorts of problems for the Portsmouth defence. And one in particular was Grady Dean Garner, someone who has struggled on plenty of occasions in a West Brom shirt and plenty of occasions this season. But he did get 2 goals and 2 assists against Portsmouth. So if this is a sign of things to come with us getting old Grady back in form, that would be a big feather in the cap for Tony Mowbray, won't it?
But if a manager's going to do it anywhere in the country, it's going to be Tony Mowbray. We've seen it time and time again, how he's just, with ease, he just gets the best out of individuals who probably have underperformed, or you think they've hit their maximum and they go up a level. You look at Ben Brereton Diaz, who took a lot of time to really settle in at Blackburn, and then all of a sudden goals. Adam Armstrong's another example. Goals. Bradley Dack is another example. Goals. At Blackburn, goals.
Keep it going. Goals.
Jack Clark at Sunderland, goals.
Goals.
I'm trying to
Ross
think of examples now.
Goals.
Yeah, goals. And it's just,
I'm not sure Ross Stewart actually played much under Tony Mowbray. He was always injured, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's why I didn't. That's why I didn't want to go with it. I mean, I can roll back the years and go with Nathan Ellington. Goals. Diamante
John
Kamara.
Hartson, goals.
With a question mark.
Kevin Phillips, goals. Kevin Phillips had goals everywhere, really, didn't he?
Roman Bednar, goals. Tony Mowbray is just capable of doing it. He's just capable of doing it. And again, I've sort of lost the point that I was trying to make. Or actually, I've reiterated the point I'm trying to make. He turns
goals.
He turns players into goals.
The point is goals, Justin.
Just
That's all we need to say. We just want goals. That's what we want with Mobes. So yeah, I'm looking forward to more goals, hopefully this weekend in this Saturday lunchtime cracker. And ladies and gents, it's now time for our second tier bet builder with SBK. Now with SBK, you don't just get your ordinary bet builder, of course. They offer you fresh legs as well. And fresh legs means that when a player gets subbed off, your bet carries over to the player coming on. And we had the perfect example of just how good Fresh Legs is last week. I chose Hull's Finlay Birds to be carded at 7-1. He went off in the 55th minute. Now, with most bookmakers, that would be game over. Tears everywhere. But with SBK, the bet carried over onto the guy who replaced him, Matty Jacob, who picked up a card in the 81st minute, meaning that bet came in at 7-1. What an evening for us, even though the rest of our bet builder didn't go very well, but a great selection nonetheless. And it doesn't just apply to cards, it's also for shots on targets and goal scorers as well, because Fresh Legs keeps you in the game. SBK, they're the only bookmaker offering this on every championship game this season, meaning there really is no better place to bet on the second tier. So sign up for SBK right now. Join the thousands of people already taking advantage of Fresh Legs every weekend. And on top of that, SBK also offering a massive 25% boost on any bet builder with 4 or more selections for Plymouth v West Brom. Max stake £10. T's and C's apply. So every Friday, Justin and I make our own bet builder with 4 selections all relating to our game of the week. 2 for Justin, 2 for myself. Justin, kick us off. What's your first selection, big boy?
I've gone with Grady Dion to score any time. And
goals!
Exactly. That's it. What's your selection? I mean, I've pretty much reiterated everything I've said. One thing you're always going to get with a Tony Mowbray team is renewed confidence in attacking players. And I think probably for the first time since Slaven Bilic, Grady Dean has got a manager there who's going to give his talented forwards the license to do whatever the bloody hell they want. And we saw that last weekend against Portsmouth. Scored twice, assisted twice, and we saw the Grady Dean that we all fell in love with all those years ago. And it's just been quite often over the past few years where we've seen glimpses of it. But I think, again, like I've said repeatedly already, Tony Mowbray is a man who's going to get consistency out of his attacking players. Graydon Diangana hopefully is going to benefit from that. So Graydon Diangana to score anytime.
Yeah, good pick, Justin. 2-1 he is to score any time with SBK. And remember, with fresh legs, even if he goes off after 5 seconds, Tony Mowbray could say, actually, Grady, this was a mistake. I'm putting someone else up front. Your bet is still in play, and it rolls over onto the player coming on. My first selection for the bet builder is under 3.5 cards. Everybody now, it's Ryan's card pick of the week. Justin even did a little dance then. I like that. But yeah, the referee for this is Dean Whitestone. And old Dino, he's not crazy about giving out too many cards. He's just a chill guy who loves to referee. He's given out over 3.5 cards just once in his last 6 games. And these two sides are two of the more well-behaved teams in the Championship. They both average fewer than 2 yellow cards per game. So I don't think this will be a card fest. And that's why I'm going under 3.5 cards for Plymouth v West Brom, Justin.
I'm 95% sure you make up the names of the referees.
You say this
Dean
every week.
Dean Whitestone is just so generic. It's such an NPC name, isn't it? Non-playable character for those who aren't nerds. So yeah, I didn't mean the reasons you suggested are more than enough for me to get behind. So
Great, that's good to hear.
Can't disagree.
Thank you, mate. What's the next selection?
I've gone with both teams to score. I expect an air of chaos in this game. I'll be honest with you, Ryan. I really do. Firstly, it's Plymouth at home park, and we've seen it happen on several occasions. I mentioned the Sunderland game at home park all the way back in August. It was crazy. Secondly, West Brom, or Tony Mowbray's West Brom, I should say. They're a team who attack without prejudice. It doesn't matter who they're going to come up against. They're going to go at you. And when you've got a Plymouth team who are very leaky, let's be honest, that's putting it very politely, they're very leaky, then there's a team that can be got out there. But I don't think this West Brom team are exactly going to be defensively resolute. And if they're going to attack openly, they're going to be open at the back. In addition to that, looking at West Brom's last 10 fixtures, 7 occasions, there have been both teams to score. And like I said, West Brom, Plymouth are very, very leaky.
Yeah, West Brom have also been a bit leaky, surprisingly. It's no clean sheet in 8 games for the Baggies, which caught me by surprise, considering a lot of those games were under Carlos Corberán, of course. Plymouth have failed to score in their last 2 home games, but prior to that, it was 8 games in a row where they found the back of the net at home park. So they'll look to try and tap into, hopefully, what they had before and have a bit more about them in this game. But we'll see. It's an interesting pick, to say the least. But yeah, let's go on to my final selection, which is West Brom to win. Yeah, I think we just have to go with the West Brom win here, Justin. A slightly improved 90 minutes. It's not enough evidence for us to start backing a Plymouth result here, is it? In the 2 games prior to that, they were appalling. And they were both at home as well, which is Plymouth's main hunting ground for points. So there's a long way for them to go to even look like they have a chance of staying up. And we've got West Brom here who are simply a much stronger side. And we were given a fresh reminder of that with their 5-1 thumping of Portsmouth, just Tony Mowbray's second game in charge. And he's already produced probably their best performance of the season. So I wouldn't want to be playing them next because they have a lot of players who are confidence players, I think it's fair to say, and they'll be buzzing after that result. So West Brom, to keep the Mowbray homecoming party going, seems the obvious pick to me. And look, they've shown they can be got at, but will surely have too much for this very flaky Plymouth side. So that's why I think West Brom is the safe pick here, Justin.
Yeah, there is an air of uncertainty, isn't there, with this, given the reasons I've discussed already with 2 new managers coming in. And it is an opportunity for Plymouth. And, you know, I am optimistic that they can do something, but I'm also a realist. And I think West Brom's attacking quality and their pedigree going forward is going to shine in this game because, I mean, we saw it against Burnley, didn't we? How often and easy Plymouth could be cut open and how often they play themselves into danger as well. And I think Tony Mowbray being a very switched on manager and with a very talented group of players in front of him. And if he plays that front 4 like he did against Portsmouth, then they're going to press high. They're going to turn possession over very quickly and they're going to get a good few openings. With the quality that they've got, could well take them. So yeah, West Brom to win is a good shout, Ryan. I can't disagree with that one either.
Cheers, pal. And this is our bet builder for Plymouth versus West Bromwich Albion. Great idea, Garner, to score any time, under 3.5 cards. Both teams to score, and West Brom to win. A £10 stake on that bet builder returns £150 thanks to SBK's 25% boost. But remember, if you don't fancy our bet builder with SBK, you can create your own bet builder from a range of markets. T's and C's apply, over 18s only. And please do gamble responsibly. We'll have a quick break, Justin, and then we'll get on to some more predictions for the weekend. Welcome back to the second tier preview show brought to you by SBK, and it's now time for us to have a look ahead to the weekend. So in each preview episode of the second tier, Justin and I will each pick a banker, a team we think is guaranteed to win this coming weekend, as well as an outsider. So someone we think is going to win, but is big at odds with our friends at SBK than their opponents. We're tracking how we do as the season goes on. It's 1 point for a correct banker, 2 points for an outsider. Whoever loses has to do a forfeit, which is to be a mascot at an EFL game next season. And the current scores look like this. It's 29-22 to Justin Peach. Not a very high scoring weekend last weekend for the pair of us. Justin's pick, his banker was the only victory for either of us, which was West Brom to beat Portsmouth. So it's strengthened his lead somewhat, and we're getting to a point now where I could really do with getting some outsiders in, I think, because otherwise time's running out. I'm a bit like Plymouth in that regard, Justin.
Yeah, you're chasing tails, aren't you? Look, yeah, as a born winner, it's hard for me to really sympathise with you. But I will say this: February's a big month. February's a very, very big month. I know we've got a game week now coming in January, but February's the make or break. It is. My form's been consistent apart from over Christmas. You've just been flailing. But that's all I've got to say.
I'm not sure flailing is particularly accurate. I've not had a good run recently, but hopefully I can try and make it interesting towards the latter end of the season, because it is probably getting to make or break stage with me, and I'm not sure I'll look good in some skimpy shorts while dressing as a mascot for an EFL game, but we'll see. Anyway, let's see how we get on this weekend, shall we? Justin Peach, reveal to the people what your banker is in the Championship this weekend.
I've gone with Sheffield Wednesday to win at home to Luton on Saturday afternoon. I think we can expect some inconsistency from Wednesday. It's been the case all season, really, but stringing together wins has been problematic. But at home, they are unbeaten in their last 4 games. Shea Charles's future is sorted, and the likes of Michael Smith and Callum Patterson, there is reason why I'm mentioning them. They both scored last weekend against QPR. And when you might think, oh, it's just Michael Smith and Callum Patterson, ladies and gentlemen, they're playing Luton. And that's a big thing here. Luton, firstly, are terrible away from home. They've avoided defeat in just 2 of the league games this season away. So can I see it getting better? Not immediately. Yes, they're buoyed by new signings, Thilo Asgard and Kyle Naismith, but the problems run deeper. Just look at the goals they concede most weeks. Really, really poor defensively. So poor, disorganised. And as I say, an attacking signing and a 32-year-old who's barely played in 2 years, aren't going to remedy that very quickly. The reason why I mentioned Michael Smith and Callum Patterson is because they're going to bring an element of chaos, I think. Hopefully they both start. They're going to bring an element of chaos into the 18-yard box. And Luton, as we saw against Oxford the other week, they can't defend from set pieces. They leave players unmarked and open. And Wednesday they're going to gobble that up. And Michael Smith and Callum Patterson are going to be very, very full.
Oh, well, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, it's hard to be very convinced about Luton in any away game right now, because their away points tally is actually level with Plymouth's now. And think about it, how much have we mentioned how shit Plymouth have been on the road this season? Well, Luton are exactly on the same points tally now, which is a pretty damning indictment for them. They have lost every game on the road this season now since mid-September, which is just, what can you really say about that? So Matt Bloomfield really needs to sort them out sooner rather than later. Otherwise, they are looking like they're on course for back-to-back relegations, which is a ridiculous thing. Who would have saw that coming at the start of the season? Well, Sheffield Wednesday are expected to do some business before the transfer window closes, despite being one of only 4 clubs yet to do anything this January, apart from getting Shea Charles back, but he was already there, so that doesn't really count. One player who looks to be joining is Scotland international Stuart Armstrong. Multiple reports say he is set to move to Hillsborough after leaving the MLS side, the Vancouver Whitecaps. What do you think to that, Justin?
I think it's a good signing. Yeah, he's experienced. He's a quality midfielder who was very good for Southampton last season. He will score goals. He's got that ability to just hit one as well, which, if you've got a tight game or need something spectacular doing, he's capable of doing it. He's obviously going to add an attacking dimension in the final third. It's a short-term fix. Obviously, he's not getting any younger. So, yeah, I do think it's a tidy signing.
Well, there were reports in Canada yesterday morning that Sheffield United had signed Armstrong, which after the Harry Clark signing this week would have been a real kick in the teeth for Wednesday fans to miss out on two players to their big city rivals in the same week. But, I really like Stuart Armstrong. I think he's a really silky player. There was a reason why the Southampton fans always called him the Scottish Iniesta, because I think he perhaps didn't get appreciated enough for how good he was at his peak, because he was a standout player for a good Southampton side in the Premier League. And maybe if he was called Stuart Armstrong Eno, he would have got more more plaudits. But he's still only 32, which, he's not getting any younger, but 32 is not that old. And the thought of him and Barry Bannon running a midfield feels good to me, Justin.
It's just Barry Bannon running in midfield.
running the midfield when he's on the ball, maybe not necessarily when he's not on the ball. But you know what? It might be like, do you remember that Carlsberg advert where they got a load of England legends to play for a pub team?
So disrespectful.
I just got this image of Bannon and Armstrong just playing piggy in the middle of the park until one of their hips pop out, joints creaking and everything. I love it.
Incredible. This ageism we've developed against Barry Bannon this season is incredible, because he has been outstanding. But I guess it's just a jealousy that he can still do it at his age. But you are right. They're both very technical players, and I think I'm not going to suggest that Wednesday are lucky to have them both, but to have that technical quality in that midfield is a very, very good thing. It's a very positive thing. And when you tip it with Josh Windass, who we know is better than Neymar, it's a scary, scary thought. Spearheaded by Michael Smith.
Yeah. Shea Charles is doing a lot of the legwork in the middle of the park for those two nowadays. But, it's good stuff. We're doing this ageism, but Stuart Armstrong, 32. I'm 31 next month, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Really.
We can't say anything.
No, we really, really can't. Justin, let's go to my banker for the weekend. It's Hull City to win at home to Stoke City on Saturday afternoon. This is a meeting of two teams level on points, just 2 points outside the relegation zone. But this game is really the story of two new managers. A few weeks ago, Hull City were looking like they were in serious, serious danger of going down after a chaotic few months. The club was a complete mess, but then Ruben Sellers, like the T-Rex at the end of Jurassic Park, comes flying in, starts gobbling down any threat of relegation. And the job he has done has been superb, summed up perfectly by their incredible 3-0 win away at Sheffield United last week. One of the performances of the season by any team in the Championship. And with their new additions, including, of course, Louis Barry, who was announced on Wednesday, a very, very exciting signing, could make his debut in this one. Hull look completely revitalised. The same, unfortunately, can't be said about Stoke City. They've had 4 league games under Mark Robbins now and are still looking for their first win. Not had the desired effect so far. I think that's fair to say. They appear to be struggling to be bringing in additions this window as well. They have got in Ali El Hamadi, who could make his debut against Hull, but Stoke could do with a lot more than just him because they're looking very flat. And the threat of relegation is kind of hovering over them at the moment. It's not imminent danger, but it's certainly lingering. And you've got Hull, who are on the up, while Stoke are sort of flatlining and could find themselves in bigger trouble after this weekend if they don't get something from this game. But I would say that's unlikely considering how good Hull have been since Ruben Sellers has come in.
Yeah, I must have missed that part of Jurassic Park where the T-Rex is trying to guide a team away from relegation trouble.
Being the family, of course. The relegation trouble being the Velociraptors. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no spoilers. I mean, the film did come out in 93, but still.
It's 30 years old now. If you haven't watched it before, then come on now.
But yeah, Ruben Tellers is the apex predator of relegation fights at the moment, isn't he?
There you go. Love that.
he's doing a really good job of improving a team that it had nothing to it. And I think Mark Robins has got the same problem at Stoke. This Stoke team's got nothing to it. It's absolutely, it's bland as you get. And I think with Stoke especially, I think Hull have, almost had that conversation with themselves where relegation was a real threat, and it is a real threat because they've been through it before very recently. Stoke haven't. And I think at some point, and this isn't down to Mark Robins, don't even think it's down to Narcis Palacio or Stephen Schumacher or any of the previous managers. At some point, someone at Stoke City has got to ask themselves, are we in danger of going down to League One? Because I think as soon as that's done, as soon as they ask themselves that, I feel like a weight might get lifted off their shoulders. They identify a problem that's there. It's lingering.
Just that problem's been there for several years now, and they still can't figure out what it is. I think if they're asking that question of, are we in danger of going down, to do another movie reference, it'd be like that Matthew McConaughey bit at the end of Interstellar where he's banging on the side of the wall going, yes, you are.
But that's what they need, isn't it? They need Matthew McConaughey banging on the side saying,
why
you are in danger.
Got in Matthew McConaughey yet?
It's so true, because I think as soon as they run head on into the problem and face it, I think things will start to improve. But until then, they're just going to ghost around the bottom three. But I certainly in this situation would back Hull to round it up. I really would, because they're on the up. Their performances are improving, where Stoke haven't yet got going under Mark Robins.
They certainly haven't. And Hull continue to be very busy little tigers in this window. But the club's owner, Acun Ilicali, has defended the number of players they brought in since he took over the club 3 years ago. They've signed 62 players in that time, which averages out at around 9 players per transfer window. But Ilicali said, I'm not just playing PlayStation. Everything has a reason why we do something. And he says a lot of the turnover is down to players leaving and injuries. And look, I get what he's saying, Justin, but maybe stopping players from leaving in the first place might be a good idea, because the number we saw departing in the summer was a complete and utter nightmare.
We've also seen cases of players coming in, not playing, and then leaving. There are players that have played for Hull that you see that they've left and you go, who? Sorry? When did he sign? There's been several cases of that, and I don't believe that everything has a reason. I don't believe that excuse. I think they've just really been playing PlayStation. They've gone through a scattergun approach with no strategy whatsoever, seeing what sticks. Some of it stuck. Ozan Tufan stuck. He was a great signing. But Jean-Michel Seri, on the face of it, didn't. High wages, didn't really be the player that Hull needed, etc. So, I don't really agree with that sentiment. I think the strategy they're going in with now, you signing younger players, I think is a much more sustainable one. And we're going to see that hopefully over the next couple of years.
Yeah, hopefully it works out for them, because they can't keep signing as many players as they are. It's just insane. But there we go. Those are mine and Justin's 2 bankers for the weekend. And every week we combine these 2 selections with a bet on the full-time results of our game of the weekend to create our very own second tier featured multiple with SBK. And as per usual, we're including one of our outsiders, which we put to you, the listener, to decide who else gets included. So this week we're going for Hull City, Sheffield Wednesday, West Brom, and Justin's pick of Norwich, all to win. A £10 bet on our accumulator returns a whopping £224 thanks to SBK's 20% ACCA boost. So if you make 4 of your own selections, you'll get a 20% boost on your winnings. T's and C's apply. Over 18s only, and please do gamble responsibly. Let's find out right now why Justin Peach chose Norwich to win away at Watford on Saturday lunchtime as his outsider for this weekend.
Norwich as an outsider this weekend's the reason why. My eyes lit up seeing this one. It really did. It's nothing against Watford. I think they've got the ability to beat any team in this division. And again, Norwich aren't exactly in the best of leagues at the moment. Obviously, they're coming into this game off the back of a very good win against Swansea, but that's off the back of 2 defeats without scoring against Burnley and Leeds. So, there's a mix of form there. But I think with Norwich coming into this game, having absolutely Well, yeah, just ran Swansea ragged, scored 5 goals. You've got Josh Sargent coming back in, which is a big one. And there seems to be less naivety when they want to play out the back as well. I think that's starting to sort of hone into the group after quite a few mistakes. But also, there's this peculiar situation at Watford at the moment with the Tom Cleverley news. Obviously, there's an unsettled atmosphere at the club as to whether or not he's going to be a manager. That's not been helped by the club appointing Zigo Arinaldi. He's coming to the coaching staff. He was Javier Grazia's former Watford manager. He was his assistant. He's come in, and Paul Robinson's moved to the data team, which again is moving. A close comrade of Tom Cleverley is out. And I think that just the timing of that, he might be an incredible coach, but the timing of it is a bit unsettling. So I think with that unsettled atmosphere at Watford, coupled with Norwich being a very good attacking outfit, and hopefully picking up form with Josh Sargent being back, I've gone with them as an outsider. As I say, as an outsider, this was a no-brainer pick.
Yeah, I think it's a fair pick, Justin, especially because you've got Watford here who, before we would have thought you were mad for going against Watford at home, considering they were unbeaten from March all the way until the end of December under Tom Cleverley at Vicarage Road. And it just seemed like a bit of a fortress for them. But then, since then, it's 3 losses at Vicarage Road, which is quite the contrast, isn't it? So I can completely understand why you're going against Watford. I'm quite surprised that you've gone with Norwich, though, Justin. You never failed to surprise me with your outsider picks. I was under the impression that you were a bit of a Norwich sceptic, considering you were playing down their top 6 chances last Sunday.
I'm a sceptic until it suits my narrative.
Okay, fine. Is that what you got to say on that?
Yeah, I think it's fine to be sceptical. I'm sceptical of you suggesting Norwich could push for the top 6 if they had Josh Sargent. Push for the top 2, you said, actually, if they had Josh Sargent for the entirety of the season and didn't lose him to injury. That's what I'm sceptical of. I think they've had... You
also said they had a lot of ground to go if they were to get a playoff place as well, which I don't agree with at all.
No, I think they do, because they've got the likes of Middlesbrough who've strengthened. They've got, obviously, Watford. I think this is a good game, a good acid test for both these sides, actually. And I think Norwich are probably in that position where if they lose key players, they're more likely to derail compared to the likes of Middlesbrough, Sheffield Wednesday, teams like that. So, yeah, it's very dependent on which personnel they've got, because we saw that they lost personnel between October and November and some of December, and they really, really struggled for consistency, and that's the worry for me.
Not sure. I think Josh Sargent coming back is a big thing for them. So hopefully they can make some more tracks towards the playoffs this weekend, and really make it a very interesting final few weeks when it comes to the playoff race. But let's go to my outsider for this weekend. It's Oxford to win at home to Bristol City on Saturday lunchtime. This is, of course, a big one for people in Oxfordshire, because it's the return of Liam Manning to the Kassam for the first time since leaving 14 months ago, which left a sour taste in the many mouths of Hughes fans, and they would love to get some sweet revenge under their new cool dad. He's coming in, he's buying them the latest PlayStation games, he's buying them popcorn at the cinema. Oxford fans are smitten with Gazza Rowett, and he is doing a sensational job. And I'll tell you what, I was surprised to see Oxford as the outsiders for this one. They're, of course, unbeaten in 9 in the league under Gary Rowett. They've won more points since Christmas Day than any other team in the Championship. They do most of their business at home as well. 4 wins on the trot at the Kassam. And while Bristol City are in decent form themselves, just 1 loss in their last 7 league games, they've only won 3 points from their last 7 away games. So I don't really understand how Oxford aren't the favourites for this one, but I will happily gobble it up all day long and make them my outsider pick for this weekend.
Yeah, stepdaddy Gary doing the business at old Oxford. Yeah, I think.
Imagine if Gary Rowett came home one day and he was your new stepdad. How would you feel about that?
I mean, I'm 31 years old. It wouldn't have the same impact on me now as a 16-year-old, for example.
Okay, so let's say if you were 16, how would you feel then?
I'd be buzzing.
Okay,
just Gary Rowett.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fair point. That'd be quite cool, I suppose.
I mean, he's going to. Back then, that's when he was wearing his jumpers. His really cool jumpers. This is before quarter zips were a thing. He was wearing those pretty sweet jumpers with the trousers and then pretty cool trainers. He's a different guy.
He's quite a good-looking bloke as well, isn't he? Gaz around.
Yeah, he makes the receding hairline look good.
Yeah.
If I was to recede fully, he's the direction I want to go in.
Yeah, he's got a bit of rough about him as well, which I like in my stepdads. But yeah, I think go to this game. Just do it. What do you think? What do you think about that?
Football, yeah. Don't really know what to say after that comment, to be honest. I think from a Bristol City perspective, they need to keep their run of form going if they've got those aspirations of finishing the top six. And this is a tougher test as you get, because Oxford at home have been a tough opposition to break. But I think this marks one of the first games. I know they've played Blackburn, Oxford, but this marks another game where, it's a really tricky one for them. And it'll be, again, another good test for Gary Rowett and Oxford.
Well, if things pan out the way I think this weekend, it could be a bad few days for Liam Manning, because he's admitted it's looking quite doubtful that Bristol City will add to their squad before the closure of the January window on Monday. They're currently one of only 4 clubs yet to add to their squad at the time of recording. Coventry are set to get Matt Grimes. Whether that happens before the weekend or not, I'm not sure. But as I say, Bristol City, one of 4 clubs, along with Leeds on Wednesday being the other ones, yet to sign anyone. So that's not great from a Bristol City perspective. I would have said if they were serious about getting the playoffs this season, Justin, they could do with additions this January.
Well, how often have we seen it years gone by that January can be a big month for teams chasing the top 6? There are countless examples of players coming in and improving squads drastically that they push up the table. And with Bristol City, I think they are short of a couple of players. Obviously, the likes of Mark Sykes has been linked with a move away to Stoke. Mayula's left. They ideally would go out and get someone. I think it's one of those cases where they don't see anyone coming in, but if someone becomes available on loan, they might turn their head a little bit and be interested. But I think they're a striker short for me of being very convinced that they're not going to be a dark horse and actually get into the top 6, if that makes sense. I think that's where I need to see them strengthen. It's a surprise, but they're a very pragmatic club now with transfers. So again, it's not a surprise when you consider that context of it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Bristol City have got a very well-rounded team, apart from really that striker position, because you've got Knocky Wells, Sinclair Armstrong. Knocky Wells is good for a few goals in a season, but he is getting on a bit now, and Sinclair Armstrong is still finding it difficult to find the back of the net. So they could really do with finding a striker from somewhere, but Fally Mayulu, they was hoping was going to be that guy. It's not really happened for him. So it will be pretty underwhelming if Bristol City don't do anything before the end of the window. But a lot can change in a few days, so maybe something will come out of the works in the final hours of the transfer window. Who knows? Right, there we go. Those are our predictions for the weekend in the Championship, and that means it must be time for this.
All right. Settle down, you lot. It's time for the Craig Bryson pub quiz.
Oh, hello there, Mr. Barman. Yes, it is the Craig Bryson pub quiz, and this is how it blooming works. Justin is going to give me 6 clues about a Championship player, past or present, each more revealing than the last, and I simply have to guess who it is. They must have made over 200 Championship appearances in their career, and don't forget, the Dexter Blackstock rule is in play. So what have you got for me, Justin Peach, you party-mad bastard?
I've made 348 appearances, scoring 55 goals.
Well, that's an awful lot of appearances. Come on.
Quite a few.
55 goals? I'll go with Ollie Norwood.
55 goals, Ollie Norwood.
I was thinking he's been around for a long time. 187's quite a high amount for Ollie Norwood, I suppose, isn't it? But I don't see what the issue is here.
It is not Ollie Norwood.
All right.
Next clue is I started my career in League One playing for Walsall.
Did he really? Can't think of many players that have played for Walsall over the years. I'm gonna go with Albert Adoma.
It is not Albert Adoma. Did he play for Walsall?
He plays for them now, doesn't he?
I don't think he does. I don't know where he's gone now.
I think he does play for Walsall nowadays. That's why I went with him, because I wasn't sure if it was a homecoming or not. You give us the next clue, Justin. I'm going to see what Albert Adoma plays now.
Perfect. Actually, you're going to need to concentrate for this clue because there's quite a lot to take in.
Okay,
I've played under...
He does play for Walsall. There you go.
Oh, perfect. I'm glad we cleared that up. It was biting at me.
Mm.
I have played under the following managers, not in this order. Russell Martin, Billy Davis, Nigel Pearson, Lee Johnson, David Wagner, Stuart Pearce, and Philip Cocu.
That is a lot of names.
There's more, but there's been too many.
Cheers, mate. I mean, what do I do with that piece of information? I really don't know, because that's just a load of names which have been thrown at me at once, and I'm struggling to comprehend it all, really. I'll go with, I don't think he's made 300 appearances, but you mentioned David Wagner. He's the only one who's sticking in my head. Elias Kachunga.
It's not Elias Kachunga. It is not. The next clue is, I moved to the MLS in 2024, signing for Charlotte FC.
Ooh, okay. Now, I am 2024, you say? That was only last year. I can't think of many people who have gone to Charlotte FC. No, Ashley Westwood's out there. I don't think he's got 300 appearances.
He's our go-to MLS name.
He really is, isn't he? I think Sam
Surridge
Surridge plays for Charlotte FC.
Sam Surridge plays for Nashville.
Oh, does he? Okay. Because Charlotte FC are one of those new ones, aren't they? Not one of your traditional big guns in the MLS.
Not the OG.
Not the OG, your LA Galaxies, your Real Salt Lakes. Those guys. Columbus Crew. They still going?
Yeah. DC United.
DC United, the good boys. I don't know. I don't know who plays for Charlotte FC nowadays. What clue is that? Is that my third or fourth?
That's your fourth clue.
Fourth. All right, well, I'm going to have to go to the next one then, aren't I?
2 clues left, Ryan.
Don't tell me any clubs that he plays yet at championship level, which isn't ideal.
I made my championship debut in 2013 for Nottingham Forest before making a name for myself at Bristol City.
Started off at Nottingham Forest before making his name at Bristol City. Was 2013, it'd say?
Correct.
2013.
That's when he joined Nottingham Forest.
Oh, really? I mean, Nottingham Forest had so many players around that time that I'm not sure I should really be focusing on that too much and trying to remember who played for Bristol City around that time. I'll throw out there Wade Elliott.
Incorrect, Ryan. This is your last clue.
I mean, completely the wrong time frame there, aren't I?
Completely, yeah. I think Wade Elliott would have been about 35 at this point.
Yeah.
Your final clue, Ryan. As well as playing for Nottingham Forest and Bristol City, I had a loan spell at Huddersfield Town and Derby County, but I am beloved by Swansea City fans for my shithousing antics against Cardiff City.
Could you read those clubs out to me again, please?
As well as having loan spells at Huddersfield Town and Derby County, I am beloved by Swansea City fans for my shithousing antics against Cardiff City.
What does that mean? What does that even mean? I really don't know what that means. You're going to accuse me of stalling here, but could I have those clubs one more time, please?
Loan spells at Huddersfield and Derby, beloved by Swansea City fans.
I don't know it.
I'm going to give you a chance to cross-reference the managers he's played under.
I haven't got bloody chance to do that. You gave me a million managers. How am I meant to get that?
Russell Martin, Lee Johnson, Billy Davis, Philip Cocu, Nigel Pearson.
Well, I mean, Billy Davis would have been at Forest. Philip Cocu, I'm guessing, would have been at Derby. That was a very unremarkable period of Derby's time in the Championship. So I guess I'm going to have to give in, Justin, I think, or just throw out a random name from somewhere.
Just throw a random name.
Yeah, I'm going
Anyone who's played for Swansea and Bristol City in recent years.
Swansea and Bristol City? I don't know. Leon Best.
It is not Leon Best. It is, of course, Jamie Patterson.
That's annoying because I remember he went to Charlotte FC as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he left. He recently left. Well, I couldn't verify
Also,
that.
incredibly forgetful his spell at Derby as well.
Yeah, very forgetful, including his very forgetful spell at Huddersfield, where he played under about 4 different managers in a year.
And Forest.
That was too many managers.
Bristol City and Swansea were the only ones I had anything to go off there. But there we go, ladies and gents. That's the first time this season any of us have fallen foul to the Craig Bryson pub quiz.
Yeah, got to the end of January.
Yeah. That was a flipping
Incredible
tricky
stuff.
one. Jamie Patterson's career is one that passes me by quite a lot. I have no idea what you mean by shithousing antics against Cardiff City.
There was a lot of... I've seen a lot of clips of him just gesturing towards Cardiff fans and absolutely loving it. And also there's been various points on social media where Jamie Patterson has made reference to Swansea being better than Cardiff. It's just good fun. It's just good fun.
Okay, I'll take your word for it on that, but it didn't really help me very much. I did want to be that guy, but the Dexter Blackstock rule, I think, is close to being tampered with there.
He wants to be that guy because
let's
he's
see
the
what the
first one to
Discord
miss
is.
out.
Let's see what the Martin Patreonsons think about that. The Jamie Patreonsons, what they think about whether that oversteps the Dexter Blackstock rule or not. But otherwise, yeah. There we go. Craig Bryson pub quiz. The first time this season one of us have fallen foul to it, ladies and gents. But there we go. This has been the second tier preview show, brought to you by SBK. It's quite a down end to the podcast, actually. I feel quite sad now.
The grapes are sour.
Yeah. I am going to the cinema later, Justin. I'm
going to watch?
Going to watch The Brutalist. You heard about this?
No.
It's the one that's basically the favourite to win all the Oscars this year. Do you know how long it is?
3 hours.
3 hours and 35 minutes.
Cinema is dead.
So hopefully I'll be back in time for the show on Sunday, because that's when we're next back, ladies and gents. Where we'll be doing a roundup of all the weekend's action. So we look forward to seeing you then for that. But this has been the second tier preview show, brought to you by SBK. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening.